is just about to start as we enable it, and well, you are hereby aware of that. First, Marian, for the introduction to this edition of Tableau User Group Belgium.
Yes, hi everyone. Yeah, thanks Timothy for that. Hello everyone and welcome to, as Timothy mentioned, it's our second installment of the Belgium Tableau User Group. Before we kind of get into introducing our great speakers, I'm really excited about the content. Maybe initially the idea was that we would all kind of say where we're from, but if anyone maybe wants to let us know where they're dialing in from, I think that would be pretty cool. Do we have the chat box open for that? I think you can see that, right? So if everyone
I think we do.
Say where they're from, I think that would be cool just to see where everyone's dialing in from, because we're obviously on that little dot on the map. I hope it's the right location.
I think you got it.
Exactly. But maybe is anyone? I can't see the chat box right now, but is anyone?
Yeah, I'm following up. We have at least 2 Belgians, of which 3 now. There's someone from Westerlo. There's people from Brussels in here, as you would expect in a Belgian user group, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. We actually have speakers from outside of Belgium.
Yes.
Which obviously this virtual thing is a good opportunity for. More about that later, though. As we have,
but they are neighbors, right? They're neighbors. So.
They are, aren't they? A person from London, technically a labor as well.
True, that is true. So, okay. So before we kind of get into introducing our speakers, just a little bit, just wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Marian Eerens, and I'm an analyst and data visualist at Suez. And Timothy, maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I work at Bistory, a major Tableau partner in Belgium and by extension Europe, and I do all kinds of stuff there, but they all relate to Tableau desktop or server. It's quite simple, really.
Yeah. So we've been running this user group, I think, for almost a year now. It's a little bit unfortunate that with the current situation, we're having these virtual sessions, but like Timothy mentioned, that gives us the opportunity to bring in some great speakers for you. This is us. We're running the Belgium Tableau User Group. If you want to get in touch, like Timothy said, this is being recorded, so we'll send it out later together with a copy of the presentation, and there's a link in this page that'll take you to the user group page where you can find our contact details. Before we get started, just some housekeeping rules. Like Timothy mentioned, the session is being recorded, so you can just sit back and relax. You don't need to worry about taking screenshots or capturing something that you want to come back to later. We'll get all the content to you. We have 2 great speakers, but before I introduce them to you, I wanted to mention Tableau Europe Live, which is coming up the 30th of June. I'm pretty sure if you're following Tableau on social media, or if you're subscribed to the blog, you will have received the notification for this great event. Because of the current situation, of course, the live conferences that normally take place, I think the next one's going to be in London, would have been, I believe it was in 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure because I get the dates mixed up.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So instead, we're going to have a mini live Tableau conference, I suppose. It's all going to be virtual. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that, 1, and 2, that you sign up for that now. It's going to be some great content. I haven't seen anything yet, and everything yet, and I don't think they've released everything yet, but I would definitely recommend keeping your eye out for any communication around that. So that's the link to the page at the bottom there, and again, we'll get this out to you. We'll get this out to you after. And then I think to what you're hopefully here for today, which are our great speakers, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. We've got Eugenia from InterWorks, and she's going to talk to us about the new data model that will be released. I think it's Tableau 2020.2. And Ludovic, Tavernier, who is the BI and data viz leader at Fashion Data, he will be sharing with us some of his UX UI secrets. He's got some great dashboards up, so it'll be really cool to see what he's up with. So each of them will have about 25 minutes. And after, we'll leave some time for questions, and then we'll move on to the next one. So if you have any questions that come up, things that come up during the session, just put them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them at the end of each individual presentation. And with that being said, I'll hand the ball to Eugenia. He's gonna share her wisdom on the new data model for Tableau. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and I think Eugenia, you can take the ball now, right?
Yes, that's correct. Hello, everyone. Give me a second to just share my screen. And I hope you can see right now PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, it is there.
Okay, great. So hello again, and my name is Eugenia. I'm analytics consultant and Tableau certified trainer at InterWorks, and I'm also a co-leader of the Netherlands Tableau user group, so based in Amsterdam. And I want to thank you very much to Marian and Timothy for inviting me. And today I would really love to talk about the new data model and give you some short introduction to the new data model. So with this, let's right away jump into Tableau. So right now we are connecting to the new Tableau. For me, it is version right now 2020.2.0. And let's connect to the data. So we're connecting to the Excel data, and this is a new data source. It was introduced with this new data model just for convenience to play with the new data model from Tableau. It's called Bookshop. And here on the left, you can see different tables that are available there. It's not very big, but basically there you will have books, authors, and also different editions of the books, and then sales for these books, and so on. So I will not cover what blend, join, and union means. I expect that you already know these terms. Otherwise, I can refer you to some Tableau help pages. And basically today, I really want to cover the differences, what is right now introduced, and in comparison to the previous releases of Tableau. So notice right now on the left, it's basically the same as previously. And on the right, maybe you see that this picture drag tables here is slightly different comparing to the previous version. So let's bring our book table to the view. So far, it's almost the same as previously. And the only thing that has changed, you could see that, yeah, rectangle slightly changed. The view of the table is slightly changed. And now let's bring also our offer table to the view. So I'm just taking it and dragging it back to the view. And you see that right now we have already a different behavior. So we can see this orange curve appears, which actually right now called the noodle, and it would indicate the relationships. So I'm dropping the offer table inside. And you see this dialog, edit relationships appears. So it's slightly similar as we saw before, and let's explore it. So first of all, Tableau right away identified that we can connect on the offer ID. And we obviously can add more fields if needed. And also, if you click here on the, so close on this, sorry, we need to say author ID from both. And then you could see that we also have some performance options in the drop-down. By default, it is recommended to leave it as they are, but if you can maybe specify a cardinality, and let's say that you want to have one-to-many relationships and many-to-many or many-to-one, you can change it here. And also you can change the referential integrity here as well. So you can say that you want to have some records match or all records match. And if you're not sure about it, you can click here on the learn more, and then you will navigate to the Tableau page where it explains to detail. But by default, it's recommended to use this default position. So we can close it. And let's bring also some other tables right now. And let's bring, let's say, avert as well. So I'm just taking our table, and you see that I'm also again connecting it to the book. And let's say that we are satisfied that it can connect on the title. Click on close. And notice some interesting behavior here, that right now I only see at the bottom our award table. So it's only displaying me award table. If I will right now select book, it will only show me the book table. So previously you would see that we have everything that we are bringing in the view as one table. This is because right now it is connecting, we are using relationships instead of unions or joins. And let's say that we actually want to use some join. How to do it? It would be still possible. You will just need to click on one of the tables where you want to create a join. So let's say that here we click on the book and would add some tables there as well. So if I click on the book, double click, you see the probably familiar already box that we saw before in the previous releases. And this is where we can create our join. And this is so-called physical layer right now. So let's bring info table. And this is exactly, you can see right now when I'm trying to drag table, it shows that I can create a union, but I want to create a join. So I'll just bring it like this. And you can see familiar Venn diagrams, right? We will go for the left join, and let's create a join for the book ID. But we can see that there is some problem. It couldn't identify on which book ID I need to join. And this is why. It's because if you go to the info and just look at our data, you can see that we have book 1 ID and book ID 1 and book ID 2. And if we click on the book table here, also in preview the data, you would see that we only have book ID, and it looks like it's just from these two fields, created from these two fields. So this is exactly where you will need to use a join instead of relationship, for instance, because we will need right now to create a calculation, a join calculation. This won't be possible to do it in relationships. So let's create a join calculation here. So I will say book ID 1 plus book ID 2, close it. And we'll close it. And you can see that now this table below, it actually consists from two tables at the above, from book and from the info. Yeah, so this is already familiar that you probably already all know from the joins previously. When we are happy with this, we can close this. And now you can see that our book table is made of two tables, and Tableau even tell us, obviously, with a tooltip that it consists of the join of two tables. And you can see that it's even showing us as one table right now. Okay, so let's bring some more tables into the view. And we will bring edition. Again, everything looks good. And let's also bring maybe publisher and sales. Let's bring publisher. You can see that I can create, so everything also was identified by Tableau. So you can create like more complicated schema. And let's bring also sales, and notice that we have sales for different quarters. So that means that we can bring and use a union here. So let me show you, there's different ways how to bring a union. One would be holding control and select it one by one. I'm right now holding control and bringing all the sales together. And you can see that I can just drop it there. And as you can see, Tableau nicely identified that it should connect on the ISBN number. And it's also showing us right now the icon for the union. if you click here on the drop down, we can edit union. And it looks like we are missing Q1, so we can add the Q1 sales here into the table and click on OK. The other way would be, if I will right now remove the sales completely from the view, I can just take one sales, Q1, or any other, bring it again like this. And here in the drop down, I can convert it to union. And we will see this dialog, so I can bring sales for Q2, Q3 back to this and create our finish and creating our union. So this is how would you build a new data model using logical layer and physical layer. And with this, I want to go to the presentation one more time and show you a little bit this slide. So that maybe it will help you to understand a little bit better. So first, by default, right now you will always see a logical layer, and you will connect the tables using a relationship. But this relationship won't create one table. It's just telling that whenever we will need to do some join, we will be using that field to create it. And then each table will have also a physical layer. And a physical layer, it's where you're creating your unions and joins, or it can be also just a single table. So in the previous view, for instance, you can see here on the left, this is how your data source page would look like. And now in a data source, you would first see logical layer, which will hold maybe several logical tables, and the logical table can also consist of the physical tables, of several physical tables, or just a single table. Okay, so let's go back to Tableau, and I want to show you several things. Actually, here, before we go and explore in the worksheet, I want to show you how it would look like in the previous version. So let's say that you have a workbook which was created prior 2020.2, and then if you open it, you will see this migrate data source. So this means that you can just you can leave your data sources as they were created if you are happy with them, and you will see them as a migrated data. And then if you double click, you would see how it was created. So you see that this was created just with one join. So again, you don't need to change your original data sources. You can continue using them. Okay, let's go back to the bookshop and explore what are the changes in this in our worksheet environment. So first, notice that we have here tables which are stacked on top of each other. And this is obviously for the better navigation. So you can see that I can just collapse them or open them. Also notice that we don't have familiar dimensions and measures. And they're actually still there, but we cannot, they're just not displayed. They don't have the placeholder for them. And how, I just want to show you how you can still see it. If you, for instance, take, we will take right now hours writing per day, and I'm trying to bring it, you see, like maybe from measures to dimensions, you can see that there is this line which divides measures and dimensions, basically. So it's still there. Other thing to notice and to let you know, I would like to let you know that there are no number of records, which we had always previously, and they were all replaced by a count per table. So it's the same. It's basically a count of records per each table. It's a generated field, but it would be named as a name of the table and with the count. So you can see I have here author count, and then if I will go to award, it would be award count, and so on. So other things like, you know, measure names and measure values, there would be at the very bottom of the table. Okay, so now let's just see how it will behave. And I will bring right now author to the rows. And let's say that I want to see how many books by every author has written. So I will right now select from the book count. And I will right now also sort it. And here you could see, if I scroll to the very bottom, you can see that some of the authors actually don't have any books. And this is one of the things which is very nice, that you don't need to identify up front your type of join. And it will be dynamically done, depending on what you have in the view. Because, for instance, if you would identify and create a left join, then this information probably would be lost. So we would need to create an auto join to have also authors that haven't written any books. So let's right now also bring author ID, but from the book table, and place it just next to the author ID from the author table. And now we don't have the authors that haven't written any books. And we also have 34 marks here. So we have 34 authors. And if I right now remove this author ID from the book, we'll have 41. Yes, so in total we have 41 authors, but only 34 authors have written some books. So here, Tableau basically, by bringing dimensions from different tables, Tableau would create an inner join and show us only matching fields. So next, let's create a calculated field and see how it behaves. I would create a calculated field, and I would do an author full name, because we have first name and last name, but just for simplicity, I would create a very simple calculation, which will show full name. And here I would bring first name plus last name of the author, and click on OK. Notice that this calculation will appear on the author table because I actually use only author table for this calculation. And this is how it would behave. So basically sets and calculation that were created from one table would appear in the table they belong to. So let's maybe just create a new sheet and place that full name there. And now let's create maybe also a calculation from different tables. And for this, I would use the calculation we just created, so full name. And also I'm interested to see in which genres that these authors create in the books, in which genres they are writing. So I would create another calculation, and I would call it full name plus genre. Bring the full name there, again plus, and then genre. I would just use a search, which is actually very nice right now. Notice that search is searching across all the tables. So if I will start typing author, you can see that it's showing that we have author ID in 2 tables. So this is very useful. It's very powerful, becomes even more powerful, I think, right now. And we need to finish the calculation. And when we hit OK, you see that full name plus genre appeared at the very, very bottom before measure names. So this would indicate that this calculation has been used from at least 2 tables, from different tables. Let's bring this calculation as well in. And as you can see, that some authors, well, actually, let's leave the full name as well there. So some authors, they're actually writing in different genres. Yes, some, for instance, they write in fiction and mystery and so on. And let's take a look and see if you will create also some aggregated calculation. And we will calculate maybe price, so price per book. So let's call it price per book. And for this, I would need price. So I would use sum of price divided by count of books. So I just would use the count from the book table. And you can see that this is also this also appeared at the very bottom. So because it would be aggregated to the level of detail in the view, and it also was created from several tables. So let's bring a price here. And I would like to show you also an interesting thing, just to show you how the Tableau will always aggregate it properly. So let me also bring the edition. I think it's not edition, it's format. Yes, it's format. So there, yeah, you would see that we have different prices for different formats of the books. Obviously, like, you know, if it's a hardcover or it's just a paperback, and we would see different price. And then I also, so I'm happy right now to cover also the differences between joins or blends, but this is, to be honest, like it's not to be covered, like, you know, you need at least like 1 hour to go through some details. And I will send you some follow-ups, and I want to mention here, just a second, I want to bring, so here are just some resources that we'll send afterwards, which I really recommended to view. And I definitely want to recommend you to watch this video by Bethany Lyons. It's like 50 or 1 hour video, where you have a lot of examples, and also when would you use relationships, or where would you still use maybe blends or joins. So it's a lot of examples there as well. So this is from Tableau conference last year. And with this, yeah, I would like to thank you, and I hope you will also like this new data model, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, thanks, Eugenia. That was really great. I had heard about obviously heard about the new model, and I kind of seen a few things, but hadn't seen it in action yet. So that was really
yeah,
cool.
Same here.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions in the Q&A, because if anyone has anything else to add, now is the moment to put them in there. Someone asked, and maybe I hope we'll be able to answer them. Someone asked, can you transform the spaghetti into a join? I don't know, I believe we covered that, but maybe you want to comment.
Excuse me, so can you repeat it? So if we can do?
The question was, can you transform the spaghetti, so the noodle, into a join?
Oh, yes. So indeed, you can. I mean, you cannot just click on it. I will go to the data source right now. And let's say that we want to have this award actually, like, you know, connect to the book using join, like, you know, instead of using noodle. So what we need to do, you cannot just convert it, but you need to remove it first. So this award table I'm right now removing. And then I will double click on the book. And then I will bring the award inside. And then, yeah, I would say left join here probably would be more appropriate. And this is how would you do it. So if you know that you actually prefer to use join, so that then you will create, like, you know, really table. So you can see here right now we have award table, book table, and also info table. Yeah, so this is coming from this book. And in this case, this would be like a table already physically created in comparison to relationships, because with relationships, what is also very nice, the difference would be that whenever you bring in something to the view, it's only querying the table you are asking it from, right? Whereas when you will be right now, like, you know, creating something from the book table, then Tableau will query all 3 tables. So book, award, and title. So this would be like, oh, sorry, info. So this would be like, you know, the difference.
Okay. I hope that answers the question of whoever asked it. So I think there was one more follow-up. which says, why does it create only inner joins between tables when you put it in the view? I think that comes, yes, sorry, go ahead.
So it doesn't create like inner join. It just, you know, when you bring, for instance, let's say offer ID from two different tables, it would, like Tableau would understand it as an inner join. Okay. Yeah, so for instance, if you would want to still, because offer ID would be like similar, right? So if you right now remove the offer ID from the book and we'll only use offer ID from the author table, and this book count is coming from the, so book count comes from the book table, then it's actually, in this case, it would be an outer join. So it's more like really depends on what you're bringing into the view, and Tableau will understand what you need. So you can force this behavior with dimensions and measures, and also with the sets, for instance, in filters, right? I can also post, I will post also in a, like in a chat window, like also another blog post from Bethany where she shows different behavior as well, how you can do it, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. And like I said, this is going to be recorded, so you can always go back to it later. And we'll send out, I think we get a PDF of all the presentations, so that will come out to you as well. And I think definitely the blogs are always a great resource, and definitely the talks from the Tableau conference last year from Bethany, I'm pretty sure they'll give some more insights for folks. So unless anyone has any other questions, or no, maybe Eugenia, you have something that you wanted to add, or?
No, for this, I would really recommend, I will like, you know, add a couple of these links. These are really helpful, and especially the data model enhancements from Bethany, that would be the best. I mean, this is plenty of examples there. And yeah, it's not, it just cannot be covered just, you know, in 20, 30 minutes, definitely not.
Okay, great. Then I want to say thank you for joining us. That was really, I definitely learned a few things. So I'm pretty sure, I hope that all of you did as well. And then now we're going to pass the ball to Ludovic, who's going to share some of his design tips and tricks with us. So Ludovic, you want to take the ball? There we go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Eugenia. It was very interesting, and it's really game changer, I think. So, hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Ludovic Tavernier. I'm lead data visualization at Fashion Data. Fashion Data is a company making smart data available for fashion and retail businesses. I am mostly interested in producing well-designed charts into well-designed data products or dashboards. And I was Iron Viz finalist at the Tableau conference with Timothy, actually. So I'm glad to work with him again.
What a time.
And I was speaker at the Tableau conference Europe last year with Klaus Schultz. So first of all, thank you, Belgium Tableau user group, for letting me introduce a short session about Tableau product design. And so how can you leverage Tableau to develop data products that are more efficient and more enjoyable to use? And why do I talk about products and not about dashboards? It's because I'm convinced that Tableau offers enough features to go further in the development in terms of user experience and design of your components. And talking about products, allow me then to use already existing vocabulary, principles, or techniques used for web or mobile developments. And guys, we use a lot of them. For example, first thing in the morning, I connect to Twitter to follow the news around data visualization, Tableau, or Marian post, because I like a post. I'm pretty geek, yes. Before coronavirus, I was also a great user of Airbnb, who was not, a website to book my accommodations. And I also use several other applications or websites for my professional life, like Slack, Monday, or Slide, for example. And then I go to Tableau Server or Tableau 9, and on my main dashboard. And I must say, I am sometimes disappointed when I arrive after spending the first part of my morning on such pleasant and efficient websites or mobile apps. But that's not our fault, because you and I do not have the skills of the same skills as a graphical designer has. This is not our job after all. But you and me, we know that user experience is key in our user adoption and how confident they are using our data products or dashboards. And this principle is well summed up by Jacob Nielsen. He said, I quote, "Users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites they already know." And that's cool, because I can easily translate site by Tableau dashboards. Users spend most of their time on other sites, so this means that users prefer your Tableau dashboard to work the same way as all the other sites they already know. And guess what? Tableau offers many features that enable you to step up your UX and UI game, so pretty cool too. So for example, a few weeks ago, I developed these dashboards as an exercise. So based on sample superstore dataset, as we all know about it, trying to improve the overall user experience of a classical dashboard. And I have a lot to say about it. And I will share with you some quick principles I used in the next part. And before we begin, I wanted to share my belief about UX and UI. So for me, UX is about a journey and how pleasant it was. Did you have a destination? And in case of your dashboard, did you find an answer to your question? How much time did you spend on it? How many actions were needed? Were you flooded by information at that point? The UI point is more about the equipment and infrastructure, where the components well conceived, where the components easy to read and use, where the screens readable by your audience, and the specificities of the format. And that's it. And the goal of today, so before doing that, just one more slide, to share with you an example. Here's the calendar of Airbnb that I really like. The UI will be how the calendar is conceived. So what kind of typo, what kind of color you use, what kind of organization on your calendar. And the UX will be where the calendar is located in the website. So it's at the very beginning, because this is the main goal of Airbnb, is to help you to find an accommodation for a date and a short time range date. So that was this calendar where you have to choose, and the begin and the end is, in terms of UX, very well conceived. And the goal of today is to bring you first stories about user experience and a first look on how you can improve your Tableau components. On the first part, I will share you two basic theories about UX and how you can leverage Tableau to follow those principles. So the two theories I wanted to share with you, there is many more, of course, but two theories from the Gestalt principles. So I call law of common region and law of proximity. So law of common region is actually how elements tend to be perceived into groups if they are sharing an area with a clearly defined boundary. And law of proximity is about objects that are near or proximate to each other and tend to be grouped together. And in our case, what's the purpose of groups? It's okay to say those items, I know they work together, they have the same goals, the same purpose, they talk about the same thing, or they have the same behavior. And that's what we want to achieve with grouping elements, you know. If I go back to the Airbnb website, I have several groups here, and they all built thanks to UX principles. Thanks to law of common region, for example, I have the filter bar, and they're all in the same well-defined area, and they all have the same behavior to filter your main page according what you desire. They also use the law of proximity with, for example, the links. So they are far apart, for example, the top one is about changing pages instead of the left one where you have the how you can manage to change the main page, but without leaving the page. So they use the law of proximity to induce the user to a behavior about what they can do in the page. And guess what? We have an amazing feature. Yeah, containers for the win. Because thanks to this feature, you can, of course, group object, and you can apply a background and padding. I don't know if you use them, but I'm a really big fan of this feature because it allows me to organize my dashboard and follow these principles. In the example I'll share with you, I, of course, use a lot of containers, actually containers into containers into containers to apply those rules. So it's like an Inception game, but except we know we are in the reality. And let me introduce you how I use containers with that principles. For a lot of common region, it's pretty obvious. I use containers background color or borders to group elements together. For example, it's pretty obvious I use the green one to group a main KPI and how it can be segmented in within categories. And thanks to that, I allow the user to be quicker in their analysis and to know which KPI work with a visualization or not. You can also use sheets background color to apply the same kind of principles. And here I knew that the two charts were independent, and I wanted to say to the user, okay, you know, these charts are not working together. That's why I apply a white background color on each of those elements. If somehow those elements were working together with the filtration, for example, I would have applied something different, like grouping these elements in the same container with the same background color, telling the user, okay, those elements work together, and you can, for example, perform a click and filter the other one. Another thing you can do after that, it's using no background color at all, because you already use, of course, background colors on other elements, on other containers, and you can decide to not use background color to do the same thing, you know, to say to your user, okay, those elements work together because they are outside containers. And if I did not use that principles, I can have a pretty, not messy, but, you know, kind of a dashboard kind of hard to use, hard to read, and hard to know which kind of objects work together. But with these principles, I am more able to know which charts work together and which one are independent. But it's not enough because, as you can see, it's not clear enough for user. But this is where the law of proximity is really important. I think it's my most favorite law. And you can use containers again, thanks to the outer and inner paddings to group or move away elements. For example, I have two main containers here inside a big container, of course, where I applied pretty large margin paddings to say, okay, this left part is about a subject, this right part is about another subject. And I invite you to go to the Eerens with participation of Timothy, where he used that law very good manner. Let's go back. So I can use, of course, outer and inner paddings inside of containers to, like before, move away elements and group elements together. And I think you understood that margins can help you organize your information much more better and allow you to user to understand more quickly which elements are together or not. So containers, if you do not use the law of proximity, it can be really messy again, but once you apply it, but even without backgrounds, it becomes more obvious which elements work together. And of course, with background law of common region, it becomes even more obvious which elements are together, which elements share the same behavior, or which elements have to be studied together. I wanted to share another law that can be worked thanks to containers, is the Miller's law. So it tells that the average person can only keep 7 plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. And actually it's more like 4 plus or minus 1 items in my case. And the site we use already use that principle, even if we don't know it. For example, Airbnb, you will notice that all the groups they form thanks to the common region or law of proximity are made of maximum 4 elements. And that's not an hazard. So same, I can use my containers to check how many items are grouped together. So for example, in my main containers, I checked that I have 4 elements that don't work together. I checked with my inner containers that they were not using too much objects. So 3 in that case. And finally, with my more deep containers, checking the rules of only 2 items working together. So it becomes, again, more obvious and readable by your users. So that's it. So containers for the win. Do not hesitate to use them and to apply those rules to make more efficient dashboards. And on part 2, I wanted to share with you some practical about your components and how you can leverage Tableau to develop better looking components. And I will talk here about another features of Tableau and a new one called parameter actions. I do not know if you know about parameter actions, but it allows you to change your parameter value thanks to an action, like a filter action, an highlight. Now you have a new action called parameter actions. And it's pretty powerful because now you can, on a click, on a menu, change your parameter value. And it allows you to create new UI components, because thanks to that, you can create, for example, buttons. You can create incremental, or you can even create calendar like Airbnb like calendar. And I will show you how you can do that with Tableau. So let me share with you. So I have this chart where I wanted to change the period, so the granularity of my date, thanks to a parameter. So I have this calculation here, or the date period, where I change my truncation thanks to my parameters. So, and I have a parameter called period chooser here. It's just a string parameter where you can choose 3 modalities. Traditionally, you will use a parameter like this. So you will have this kind of component where you can change the parameter and then change the granularity of your date. What you can do now with parameter action is to create an object to change this parameter. To do that, I have loaded a new data source, where I wrote so the value that my parameter can take, so day, week, and month. And I will use that new source to build a button-like chart, if you want to. So I will use value, and I will use a bar chart to mimic what a button like. You will see what I mean. So if I go there and write a constant on columns, I have a bar charts, and we can easily see that it can be how to say that, customized to look like buttons. I will put value in label. Okay, it looks like buttons. And then I just have to go to worksheets, actions, and there I can perform my change parameter, my parameter actions. Here I have to choose a target parameter, so my period chooser, for example, and I will use a field that is in my chart to change the parameter. Here my field is value. I click on OK, and now each time I click on an object, it will change the parameter value. Let me show you. If I add a boolean where I evaluate value equal parameter, okay, I put that on color. Let's try it. So if I click on day, day will become orange. Okay, it's working. So now you see that we can create new components thanks to charts. It's an easy way to build it. I have another way to build such buttons without loading any extra data source, but it will be for another session, I think. So you can then customize your button to be more user-friendly, to have a better look and feel like this. One thing you can do, and it will be for another session too, if I go there, you can have a calculation that allows you to not have the, the default selection border. If you see this example, if I click on day, the other bars are gray and my day bar is highlight with that black border. And you can off this kind of default behavior by using calculations. And I think it will be for another session too. I told you I have a lot of things to say. And that's it. So I think you can imagine what you can do. I can present you this incrementer too, where, okay, I wanted to change the number of different products and see how many orders were performed with this number of different products. If I change the button, of course, the chart changed too. And how is created this kind of new UI component is performed thanks to, of course, parameter action. If I go to dashboards actions, you can see that I use two parameter actions, one on one object to increment. So I have a parameter embed chooser which is a number I can increment, and another one who can be decrement thanks again to a parameter actions. And if I go, for example, on the minus button, you will see that I use actually a field, a calculated field named embed chooser previous. And in that field, I have the new value I want my parameter to take. So here, for example, I have this, who tell me, okay, you don't have to go over 9, but here it's the main part of this behavior where I want to say to Tableau, okay, Tableau, now you have to update the parameter with the parameter -1. After that, it's just a matter of course of customization of look and feel, and again how you can disable the fact of Tableau showing this black border when selected. Oh, and of course add some other feature like, okay, oh, you are -0, you have to gray that object because you can go under -0. But again, it's maybe for another session. And you can go much more farther with that kind of techniques. Here, I wanted to recreate the calendar component for Airbnb. So I want to be able to change month. So we already covered that part. It's like the minus and or plus button, but I wanted to use a new calendar where I can select the begin and end date of my visualization. And I wanted to select begin across multiple months and be able to do that also. And this is only parameter actions, guys. So how does it work? Actually, it's kind of the same technique as earlier. So I use a Tableau calendar new data source. It's referential of dates to be used as a component, and I have of course a parameter, and the parameter is actually not a date but a concatenation of strings where I have a begin date and an end date, and I have to tell to Tableau, okay, you have to update that strings when it's needed. I have a new calculated field that shows a next, where I handle this behavior. So I have four kind of behavior I want to apply. I want to say, okay, if the parameter is empty, you begin the selection, so you enter the select date. If you have the semicolon, then it means that you have an end date selected, so you have to restart the selection. That's why I have to put in the that chooser only the date I clicked on, the date I click on. If the date I click on is inferior at than the than the date I have in parent chooser, you restart, because obviously you want a period where the end date is greater than the begin date. And if you passed all that kind of conditions, you can add the end date to the begin date. So you have the parameter date and you add the end date to the string. And that's how it's realized. It's only based on, okay, you want Tableau to change the parameter values, so you have to tell him which kind of field you want to use. So let me show you in actions. I have these parameter actions where I said, okay, you change the value of the tab chooser parameters by the tab chooser point next. You already seen that. Okay, so you have many other fields. They are just here to change the look and feel of the calendar. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. I think I have finished here. So next, of course, I have many other things to say about other laws of kind of methodologies and how you can leverage navigations, filters, set actions, animations to build better products. But it will be for another time. Thank you again. Thank you, Marian. Thank you, Timothy, for the invitation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
I think we just have you come back just for more.
Thank you, Marian.
Yeah. Can we book you for the next 5 installments, please?
Thank you, Timothy. I hope it was not too technical. I know there is a lot. And of course, I will publish the workbook I use publicly on my portfolio. And I will keep you updated on my LinkedIn and Twitter profile.
Yeah, that would be great. There's one question from Lucian who was really impressed because he said, wow, in the chat box. So I would think that's good. But his question was, are the parameter actions applying to the workbook or only in the dashboard? I'm not sure if that makes sense. Maybe he wants to add something to that.
Sure. Okay, let me go back to Tableau. You have both, actually. So when you are on a sheet like that, so you use worksheet, you see that on the worksheet menu, you can perform actions to actually try out your actions before using it in your dashboard. So you have the same thing here in dashboard where you will be able to perform the same action, but you have to configure it again. Oh, one thing I did not show you, I went further of that because obviously you can mix up some features from Tableau. Here, some friend of mine said, okay, your calendar is great, but it's a bit prominent, you know, a bit big. And you can, of course, use hide and show containers to hide your new UE components.
Yeah,
And
that's my favorite thing, to show and hide
Sweet.
containers.
so obviously there is, you can always be better in what you develop. I
Okay,
hope I answered the questions.
I hope so. If not, I'm sure there will be plenty of information in the stuff that we'll send out after. So thanks again, Ludovic, for joining us. I was really hoping that we could have done this in person because it was going to be in Antwerp initially, but then this happened and we kind of made it work in the virtual space. So thanks again for joining us. I think, sorry, I was going to say Ludovic. I meant Timothy has a few more things to say before we wrap up. So I'm just going to share my screen here for a second.
Yeah, thank you. It's not just me. It's like a message from your user group organizers, I guess. So yeah, I think it's just one or two or three announcements. Let's go straight to the first one. Some of you who may remember this, actually some of you who attended multiple installments of our user group know that we were looking at the possibility of a logo for a user group because, every Tableau user group kind of has that fun logo. And being Belgians and not taking ourselves too seriously, I think from some of the suggestions we had in the beginning, this is one that really characterizes the way that we are. Like, obviously it has to have fries because, yeah, again, Belgium, the flag's actually represented in there as well. And so this is a suggestion that was made to us by Klaus Schulte, whom I'm sure most of you know or follow because, well, he's very prominent in the community. And so, yeah, we thought, well, we can make this a whole contest again. And we thought we could have a system for voting and finding the right logo. And I think we kind of discussed it informally with some of the people who were at the very first edition too. But in the end, why don't we just go with this one for now? Because it's really fun. It has charts, fries. It has everything you need, doesn't it?
It's 3D bar charts, so come on.
Yeah, there is always a good opportunity for some hidden joke like that, I guess, in a logo like this or in this kind of stuff. So, yeah, so you might see this pop up from time to time, and it's extremely recognizable. So you'll know that that's content related to the Belgium Tableau user group. So we hereby officially have the logo. And I see there's a few people in the chat and Q&A already agreeing with that choice, so that's good. Okay, that's one of the announcements. Then as we move to the other one, not really an announcement, but more of a call for action for you guys, which you would usually expect at a user group as well. And what's going to happen is that for our next edition, which is scheduled to be in September 2020, if everything goes well, and we don't know, by the way, whether that will be in person or virtual yet, because obviously things keep changing. But regardless, we wanted to see if this concept of what we have called lightning sessions for now could work. And so obviously we didn't invent this, but you know that sometimes instead of having longer presentations on a extended topic, just like Eugenia and Ludovic have just brought us, another way of setting up your event could be to have many more but shorter sessions. And we thought, well, why not try that? In fact, I've attended a gathering that was, I think that must have been around a year and a half ago, a Belgian data viz user group gathering thingy. It was not related to Tableau. It was just like, working with data in Belgium, basically. And they did this for their first installment. And I mean, it's a welcome change. And it can be good if you have a good variety of speakers, because you can talk about really anything. We can have one or two very short, inspiring talks showcasing some work that someone did, while others, do a quick focus on a technical feature that you might not be aware of. So the content can be anything, but we're looking for the speakers to actually facilitate this. So anyone on the call, obviously anyone who attends the user group is welcome to volunteer, or if they know of someone who might have an interesting topic or showcase to bring, then that would be most welcome for our next installment of September 2020.
Yeah.
Yes, Marian, anything to add?
No, I think it's a fun way for people to kind of get engaged. You don't have to be an expert, right? I always believe that everyone has something to share or something that could be relevant to someone else. So don't think that because you're not some kind of master that this is not for you, right? You really want to hear from everyone. Whatever they have to share. Could it be like something that they've built and they've picked up some tips and tricks that they can share with someone else? It can be anything.
It can be. It could be, I've participated in Makeover Monday for the first time, and this is what I came up with, and that was my experience. Perfectly fine, perfectly fine. Anything really. Yeah.
So if you have like any questions on that or are not sure, should I do this? Could I do this? Like, please reach out to us and we can help you, kind of think through that and how to put it together. If you need help with anything, we're here for that.
Yes.
And then I think we have one more. Well, it's just, I think, yes, just a reminder. Oh, sorry, Timothy, you go.
No, you were going to say that, so I'm pointing like, yeah, do it, go.
No, it's just a way for you to keep in touch with what we're doing. So I think signing up to the user group page, you always get the notifications when we publish a new event. So that's definitely one way. The other one is the community space on communitytableau.com. I believe they're making some changes to that, but it's still, the link is still the same. You can always follow us on Twitter, BelgiumTUG, or you can reach out to either myself or Timothy on Twitter, LinkedIn. There's different links to our social media profiles. And then finally, if you wouldn't mind taking I don't think it's 1 minute to kind of give us some feedback on what you thought about today, then that would be really great and help us plan, the future events to kind of tailor to what you liked or didn't like. So definitely value your input there.
Yeah, there will be a link to the survey as you close the window for this webinar. And in fact, you'll get a warning first, I think, in your browser saying you're going to be redirected to another page set up by the host or presenter, and there'll be this survey. So that's convenient if you just want to take another minute right now and get it over with. Yeah, that could work as well. And we'll add the link into the follow-up email also. So there's plenty of opportunities to tell us what you thought of today. Yes, and indeed we do value that. And then I think we're done for now. Yeah, that's a wrap. So, final thanks to our audience as well as our presenters for their valuable contents, questions, their interest, which are what keeps these user groups going. And so we really appreciate that a lot. So thank you for attending. Yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye. Bye.